Welcome to another episode of Scandinavian Crimes. My name is Devante, and say hello to my lovely co-host, Delila.
Hi.
And on this podcast, we will cover famous Scandinavian criminals who made their mark throughout Scandinavian history. So today we bring you a very intriguing tale that took place in Finland back in November 1990, the haunting case of the Hausjärvi Gravel Pit Murders. Now this case is a really wild ride, mostly because of how each of these events took place during a very specific time frame, but also what truly makes this utterly scary is the fact that many people speculated there was a serial killer operating in the area who often would describe the man as having brown hair and driving a white car. But nonetheless, above all, what makes this truly a horror is that even until this day, it's still unsolved. So one thing I want to clarify is that this case had approximately 4 victims, but based on what we were able to find, only 2 cases had enough information to create this episode. So knowing that, we will cover those 2 publicly known cases and as well discuss them. So sit back and relax as we discuss the Hausjärvi Gravel Pit Murders. On a chilly November evening, 39-year-old Helena Marilainen found herself at a friend's apartment in Järvenpää, Finland. Helena hailed a nearby Rahimäki and planned to take a late-night train back home. Little did she know that this seemingly routine journey would soon take a nightmarish turn. As midnight approached, Helena made her way to Järvenpää railway station to catch her train. Standing on the platform, she caught the attention of a dark-haired man clad in a leather jacket. He approached her, striking up a conversation about her travel plans. And that's when he made an unexpected offer: a ride home in his car. Under the influence of alcohol, Helena hesitated but eventually accepted the stranger's offer. The man's car was described as a light-colored passenger car, possibly an older Mazda or Datsun. But what Helena didn't know was that her decision to trust this stranger would lead her down a dark and treacherous path. As they began their journey, the man offered Helena alcoholic beverages and capsules filled with an unknown substance. Curiosity got the better of her, and she consumed them without any question. The man himself took several unknown capsules during the ride as well, adding to the air of unease inside of the car. Along the way, Helena noticed the man's distress and the presence of a child seat in the back of the car. Before long, the effects of the substance began to take hold, and she drifted off to sleep. When she awoke, Helena realized they were no longer on the road to Rahimäki. Instead, they found themselves on a dark, dirt road surrounded by an eerie forest. Concerned, Helena inquired about the route, but the man assured her that they were heading the right way. Suddenly, the car came to a stop in a desolate gravel pit. The man urged Helena to spend the night in the car, but she declined, longing for the safety of her own home. In a swift and shocking turn of events, the man attacked Helena, striking her in the back of her head with a knife. Miraculously, the woolen cap she wore acted as a cushion, saving her from the fatal blow. In a desperate bid for survival, Helena managed to flee from the car into the darkness of the forest. Her heart pounding, she ran towards the distant glow of a nearby house, seeking help and safety. Helena's frantic knocks on the door alerted the inhabitants, and they rushed to her aid. Bloody and terrified, Helena recounted the harrowing encounter with the dark-haired man at the gravel pit. The police were alerted and the search for the perpetrator was initiated, but the mysterious man proved elusive, leaving behind only chilling echoes of his intent. In her escape, Helena overheard him muttering about things not going according to plan. To this day, the identity of the dark-haired man remains unknown, leaving the community haunted by unexplained events that transpired that night. The Hausjärvi Gravel Pit Murders continue to puzzle investigators as they strive to uncover the truth behind this terrifying encounter and who this man really is. So now we're going to transition to the second known case of the Gravel Pit Murders. It was April 17th, 1991, when Tuula Lukalinen, an inpatient of Kelkoski Psychiatric Hospital, left the facility at 8:30 a.m. Her purpose was to travel to Herla for an important meeting regarding her son's custody case. However, she never made it to the appointment. A witness later spotted Tula around 9 a.m. the same day in front of a liquor store in Järvenpää, but she failed to show up for the custody meeting. Intriguingly, investigators later confirmed that Tula has been seen in the center of Riihimäki on the evening of the 17th. However, the following afternoon, April 18th, a grim discovery took the village of Hausjärvi into shock. A landowner inspecting damages caused by a blizzard in the forest stumbled upon Tula's mutilated body. The police later estimated her time of death to be around midnight, and she had suffered sadistic violence. It remains unclear whether she was killed at the location or her body was simply just found. Despite the blizzard that occurred after her death, the police made a startling discovery at the scene: Tula's handbag and a potential murder weapon. Disturbingly, Tula's body had been dragged several dozen meters into the woods from a nearby small road, less than 100 meters away from the same gravel pit where Helena Marilainen had encountered her attacker 5 months prior. In 2017, it was published in the media that there had been a possible fourth case involving the murders. In 1989, a drunken 30-year-old woman who had just exited a restaurant in Järvenpää recounted a story of a man offering her a ride. Along with that ride, also offering her alcohol and pills, and then driving her to the forest area. The case resembled much like Helena's. Although the woman did not make it, the victim's mother brought it up after the woman had died of natural causes years later. The parallels between these two horrifying incidences are very chilling, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. Who's responsible for these unspeakable acts? Was it the same dark-haired man that attacked Helena, or was it someone else completely? Okay, so before going to the discussion and talking about this whole situation and choices that were made, there were a couple more victims, but they did mention one more victim where there wasn't a lot of information to really include in the story. However, I do want to bring it up because, like I said, this podcast is for kind of creating awareness about the situation. So we have Marie Tanti, who was a 40-year-old who disappeared in August 1993. It was also suspected of being a victim of the possible serial killer who was identified as that brown-haired man. Her body was searched for by local authorities to basically find nothing. Her body was never really found. And the NBI began investigating the case of 3 women who was kind of dealing with the same situation involving the alcohol, the drugs, and the dark-hair colored man in the same area. So that also is what contributed to the fact that a lot of people thought there was a serial killer operating in the area. Now, even though they were not able to find her, the only thing that was able to kind of help connect this information was simply because of basically a few friends and people who knew her and kind of what they mentioned about the situation. And that was the only way that this person was able to come onto the scene as being involved in this case, because of her friends and, you know, kind of what was said and, you know, what they saw that night, the last time that they saw her. So just so people are aware, you know, that is somebody else who was involved, and we're not really sure how many people were actually kind of really fully involved with this serial killer, but just letting you know that there are possibly even more people that we may or may not know about, because that is all that is public right now. So that is something I wanted to mention. Now let's move on to the official discussion.
Okay, so everybody say this with me. Do not enter a stranger's car. No matter how charming or kind they seem to be, do not do it. Especially if they offer anything or offer you to take anything, drink, drugs, whatever. So obviously this man was targeting women who were intoxicated already. And I know it's hard to be able to make rational decisions when you're intoxicated, but you know, I still want everybody who listens to this podcast to know that it is very important to say no. And I know, you know, it's scary to say that to a stranger, and you don't really know what they're capable of. So especially if you are alone. And that's also the case of Helena, the first one that was mentioned in this story, who was alone in the dark in the middle of the night, intoxicated, and at the train station, waiting for her train. And when he kind of drove them away in a secluded area, he had full control. And that's when she said no. And he just went full on aggressive mode and tried to murder her. And it's just sad that there will always be this like atmosphere of fear for women when it comes to men, just because of certain men doing things like this. And I know most women know this already, about women's safety, but please be around people or public spaces during night. Don't be afraid to say no if you feel uncomfortable about a situation. If your life is in danger or you feel like your life is in danger, call authorities or record to have evidence. That is also very good. Having any knowledge of self-defense would also higher your chances of survival, so that is also very recommended. Anyways, so these incidents happened during the time around the 90s and late 80s, right? Mm-hmm. Which I'm just very surprised. Didn't they have like DNA testing? I just think that would be a lot more information or anything you can find in the area, because there were like 2 survivors, right? Devante?
She was one of them, and I think there was technically another survivor. Yeah, there was another survivor, but
we just don't know if they are all like together with the same person or perpetrator.
Yeah, even though they all, not all, but the 2 who survived, I believe, gave the same recount of the brown-haired man in like a similar colored car. It's hard to say because one, white is still a very common colored car in general, and having brown hair is a very much dominant trait in genes. So once again, that's also very common. So it's hard to say. One of the biggest issues I have in general, basically with this case, is even though there's a lack of information, obviously, at least from what it seems like, it looks like there wasn't a ton of initial investigation regarding these accounts, like almost at all. It seems like they weren't believed in a sense. At least, like I said, that's how the information comes off. I could be completely wrong, but she escaped. She managed to get to someone who was able to call the cops. And I've said this before, going back to what, Delila was saying, especially when you're in a situation like that, your best option is to fight till the very second. That's exactly what she did. She tried to hit her. He tried to hit her. Didn't work out, and she managed to escape, and she didn't look back, and she cooked it, and she made it to someone's house, and that's why she survived. Mm-hmm. So she did, obviously, outside of getting into a stranger's car. After that, she still made good choices, and she managed to, get somewhere and find safety. But I feel like there was no real effort to find this guy.
Which is so strange, because like there was so many cases during a short period of time of the like late 80s up to like 1993, 4 or something. Mm-hmm. Like where it's similar incidents happened. I just find it so strange that they didn't really try to do anything.
Yeah, it's like I said, this case is interesting because even on Wikipedia they showed like the area which that happened. And I think the problem with the area that they were, what she was in when this whole situation was happening, was that basically it's hard to kind of get evidence from that area, because I'm looking at the picture and it's just like, it's a gravelly area, and then I'm pretty sure there's wildlife in the area, as well as if they didn't know that there was a serial killer operating in the area, they wouldn't even begin to know where to look. But like I said, how?
Like, why would it be hard? Please explain, because like in my brain, I'm like, can't you see any footprints or any type of like if we say, for example, that she was fighting him, shouldn't she have some type of like DNA on her hands, nails, something?
Well, like that was the thing about this because according to the information, he didn't get a chance to really grab her. Like, he just had a chance. He attempted to knock her out with the butt of the knife. And because she was wearing a really thick hat because it was cold, it absorbed the impact and she never went down. And she managed to run and escape. And she managed to get to the house that was like nearby. And obviously
it seemed like he wasn't even able to chase, like he didn't really chase her either.
Yeah, I think he probably just left because
like escape. Yeah.
And I'm not encouraging the behavior, but it seems like he was relatively smart because, leave her alone, and then by the time she gets to a house, I can't be found anyway. So that's like what the mentality seems like. He was like, okay, I don't have control of the situation. I'm not going to chase her down because I don't have control. You're introducing more variables. I'm going to leave. So it seems like he's intelligent. But based on the profile that they gave, that he was, basically about 5'5", so he was actually below average height, which is probably why a couple people were able to survive because he wasn't really a big guy. And he just knew the area, and he had like a child seat in his car. They assumed there was someone in the area. So someone who lived at least close by and knew the area, because the fact that there's multiple accounts of, obviously the people who survived, of him going to the same spot to try and commit these murders, which means either he's going there because that's where he feels the most comfortable, or that's the most secluded, and maybe he kills them there and then he just brings their body somewhere else, because the people who went missing, who were believed to be associated with this, their bodies were never found in the area. So
yeah, they were like, he dragged them like several like meters away or something. Like, I can't remember. It said something about 100, 300 something in the story.
Yeah.
So he just like trying to, like, the thing is, I'm a bit, if they knew about 2 cases, or like 1 case at least, that it happened in that area specifically as the woman escaped from, and they have seen similar cases and disappearances and signs of the dead bodies being dragged several like meters or miles away, shouldn't they be like, but it's still in the same area, maybe we should like try to put one piece together with the other? Like, I just feel like it's, I don't know, it just seems like, I don't know if it's like lazy or if they just didn't really, maybe it was different districts, but it couldn't have been because it was in the same area. I don't know, it just seems very weird. It's as you said, like, it's like
it's a very
they didn't
vague.
they didn't really investigate. They just like, okay, this happened and that's that.
So I actually want to read off his profile and what the NBI was like, their theories about the situation regarding the offender. I didn't write this down because I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a surprise, Delila. So I want you to kind of hear how this played out. So I'm going to read it off. Over the years, a perpetrator has been profiled largely based on Marilyn's story and events, with the description as following. At the time of the events in 1990, the man is between 30 to 40 years old and had dark hair with curls. He's about 1.7 meters or 5'5". He knows the autonomy of human or large animals. He possibly had an infant child at the time, as the car seat's backseat would have a child restraint, like I mentioned in the story. The car itself was thought to be a sedan, Mazda, or Datsun, like I mentioned also in the story. He was familiar with the towns of Järvenpää, Havinka, and basically the local area and the railways, along with the forests surrounding the areas. It is believed that he's unable to form normal relationships with women, as well as this man basically has a child and possibly has a bad relationship with an ex-wife or wife or girlfriend, and is believed, obviously I said ex-girlfriend or ex-wife, which means there's a possibility he could be divorced. Now, a lot of the tips of this killer was provided and was due to a show, I believe it was called the Condemned episode, that obviously if I butchered it, forgive me. But according to some information, it was believed that he offered rides to women in the 21st century still. So according to some of the description that has been last offered, based on some, rumors and information, the last thing that was heard was in 2006, someone who fit that description was still offering to give rides to women.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
They're still investigating the case because they believe he can still be found. So there's a good chance, because of this information and that he was never officially caught, he could still be functioning either in the area or moved somewhere else.
That is so disturbing.
Crazy, right?
That is so disturbing. No, why did you tell me this?
It's so crazy. It was like 2006.
Please, people in Finland, be safe. Please, I beg of you.
That's crazy. So this is an unsolved case. So if you live in these areas, if you have families in the areas, obviously the point is not to create mass hysteria, but be careful. Information. Yes.
That is what we're trying to do here.
Be careful. It could be a friend, it could be a neighbor, it can be someone you know, because this person still hasn't been caught. And then according to, in the year 2006, he was still offering rides to people. So if he was believed to be about 30 or 40 in the 90s, that was 16 years later, which means if he was 40, that means he would have been 56 at that time. And then given now it's like 2020 something, he's going to be an older gentleman. So he probably can't do that anymore, especially due to his size and stature of being 5'5", because, he's...
Maybe he found a new girlfriend and stuff too, because if we go based on the profiling, it seemed like he just had a hard time finding somebody to be intimate with, and that's why he did all those things. Mm-hmm. Maybe he just found somebody to be in a relationship with, so he stopped. That could also be the case, but we don't really know.
Yeah, and just in case I didn't make myself clear either about where the information came regarding about the episode, this is a show where they were talking about the Hausjärvi Pit Murders, and then tips started coming in about the guy.
Okay, so it was based on, we don't really know for sure. It was just a profiling based on...
So it was
other
based
information
on exactly
on what people said. Okay.
Yeah, so they basically were doing what we were doing, except there was an episode about it, about the young women who we were talking about, and then once people saw it, the episode gathered more tips, and then they created a profile with the tips, and basically it seemed like this is a consensus based on what they saw, and even like I said, the information regarding him still being possibly active in 2006. So, like I said, by this time, if the age profile is to be believed, he should be, I believe, in his 60s, about around there, 60-ish, give or take a couple years. So he's not quite old, not ancient.
He's not in his prime.
Yeah, but he's definitely not in his prime. So... I just wanted to definitely end the discussion on that part because that is insane.
Well, now I won't be able to sleep tonight. Thank you very much.
No problem. That's, I need everyone
horrible.
Vigilant on these streets. So keep that in mind. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope that last
little tip. Why are you laughing? You just ended with this okay, he's alive somewhere, be careful, and then be like, okay, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Because it's just, I felt like this was the perfect spot to put it. Just, yeah, he's out there, he's somewhere. You probably know him if you live in the area. But
citizens in Finland, please be safe. Even though he's not in his prime, he's still out there, so be careful. And as I said before, self-defense is great in any form.
Yes. And please do not get into random people's cars. Make sure you're careful. Remember, the reason that they're trying to get you to move away from a public area is because They're trying to take you somewhere where they have more control. As long as you're in a public area, they don't have all the cards in your hand. You can scream for help, and then guess what? The chances of their success have severely plummeted. So,
and now we have phones. We can record.
Yes, which all have GPS, Apple Watches. Even you can track your AirPods as well on Google Maps. The Generation 2 AirPods, they have GPSs built into them, air tags. So
technology is with us.
Yeah,
we can use it.
So just be careful out there.
Compared to back then.
That's a fact. So be careful out there. Stay safe, stay healthy. And I guess to wrap up today's episode.
I want a croissant. Thank you.
You want a croissant?
Croissant? I don't know. I'm not even going to attempt. I don't know French.
Yeah, I don't know French either.
I actually wanted with some cheese as well. Like just a really huge plate of sorry, just a big plate of different types of cheese, and just have like 3 really big croissants and maybe some chocolate on the side, maybe some wine too.
You're going on that'd be great. Right now.
No, it's good. And so, oh yeah, I forgot the best part: the grapes, some fruits.
All right, you're asking for a full-blown meal here.
Yes, I am.
Basically, I think I would just want something simple. I would just want a burrito, you know.
Okay, that's fine.
And remember,
do you want anything in that burrito?
No, just regular rice, beef, guac, cheese, you know, the usual. Just the regular, you know, just vibing.
Okay, that's cool. That sounds good.
It's a little vibe. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed.
So my cheese is not a vibe, but your burrito is.
I just said you were doing too much. But either way, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And stay safe out there. And once again, remember, there's a possibility he could still be active in the area. Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.